Jackie! I need you to do something for me for today's episode.
Sure, of course.
Listen, we aren't still getting the reception we were hoping for from the first 3 episodes, and our backer is getting kinda... He would like us to be open to trying new things.
Like social commentary, exotic food, celebrity guests, roller derby? What exactly are you looking for here?
Look, I'm going to be honest. We need this episode to do well. So if you could give it more of a educational focus.
Educational? Sure, no problem. I'll go tell the FG.
Actually, I came to you because you're a little bit better than she is at going off script, and this one is kind of important to her, so...
So subtly educational. I think I can do that.
All right. What are you two cooking up?
No cooking, just giving Jackie a pep talk because she was feeling a little down.
Yeah, it's a Thursday. Rainy days and Thursdays, you know. Let's go do a show.
Rainy days and Thursdays.
Once upon a time there was a girl. She looked around and saw the world, not as it was, but as she knew it could be.
She said, happy endings are to give it. I'll build the world I want to live in. And if I catch a break or two, there'll be no stopping me. So she left behind her safety net with her future clear in view. She's watching fly till her last breath until she made her dreams come true. What if you weren't afraid of anything? What if the worst thing that could happen was if you never tried at all? You got a voice, you got a dream, I got your back, you got a team. So stand with me, I'll fight for you, and one day we're gonna make our dreams come true.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Presto Fairy Tales. I'm the fairy godmother.
And I'm Jackie Appleblossom, the other lesser-known fairy godmother. Hey, FG, what makes today's episode so special?
Oh, I'm very glad you asked, Miss Appleblossom. While many of the stories we feature on our program are from unknown or unfamiliar sources, today's tale is an underappreciated gem from one of the greatest storytellers of all time, Mr. Hans Christian Andersen.
Good guy, Danish, liked puppets. Did you know he was dyslexic? Sorry. True, though. Go on.
Today's tale is The Wild Swans, and it is one of my absolute favorites. And so, if we are finished with the trivia portion of our show...
A baby swan is called a cygnet. Okay, I'm done.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a king who had 11 sons and 1 daughter whose name was Eliza. They were brave, brilliant, hard-working children, every one of them, and they loved one another fiercely. But it wasn't to last, for one day their father, the king, married a very wicked queen.
This lady would literally give the kids cups of sand for dessert. She sent Eliza to live with some random peasant woman far from the castle, and she told the king nasty lies about his sons until he hated them. Although I don't know why she bothered with that, because then she just cast a magic spell that turned them all into swans because, oh, by the way, she could do that. Worst stepmom ever.
And that is how young Eliza grew up. Alone, missing her brothers, without an inkling as to what she could have done to deserve such a cold and lonely childhood. Through it all, however, her heart remained pure and her mind clear. And after she had grown into a young woman, she decided one day to travel to her father's palace to see the family she had left behind.
Completely oblivious to the fact that her brothers were A, gone, and B, birds.
Your Highness,
What is it?
Eliza has just returned and she's seeking...
Eliza. I hate her. Who is Eliza?
Your stepdaughter, Your Highness.
Did I turn her brothers into ducks?
Swans, I believe it was.
Oh, yes, I remember. I hate her. Send her in, and I'll turn her into a swan and be done with it once and for all.
Your Majesty.
Eliza! Darling, how delightful to see you. We had begun to wonder why you never visited us.
You had?
Of course. Come, sit down. Sit. Oh, but just look at your clothes. We'll have to find something more appropriate of a princess before you meet with your father.
I was afraid you wouldn't be happy to see me. After all, you did send me away when I was a small child.
Nonsense. I only meant for the weekend. What a dreadful misunderstanding. Did you think I meant forever? Oh, what a darling, obedient child you've been all these years. Come, servant. Let's find her something more appropriate to wear.
Eliza's returned.
Husband!
Is that Eliza? I wish to see her.
Yes, but not yet. Oh, dear husband, not yet. She needs to bathe. Change her clothes. She smells awful.
I care not what she wears nor how she smells.
Yes, but she cares. And she would be so terribly offended and embarrassed if you saw her in her current state. Come back in an hour.
Oh.
Was that my father?
Yes, it was, but he had to go.
Oh.
But he said that he wants to see you and will be back in an hour. Come, girl. Let my servant draw you a bath, and you can scrub all that peasantry right off your skin.
Thank you, Your Majesty. You're much nicer than I remember you.
Yes, I am.
Now, the queen knew that she couldn't get rid of Eliza now, not now that the king knew she was in the palace, but she had a plan. While her servants were drawing her a bath, and while no one was looking, the queen slipped 3 magical toads into the bathwater. 3 toads that would turn Eliza ugly, dumb, and evil. Fortunately, Eliza's heart was so pure that she was immune to the evil magic of the toads, and instead they were transformed into 3 harmless puppies.
Womp, 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 womp!
That doesn't even make sense.
The queen had to get rid of Eliza fast, and she had one last trick up her sleeve.
Now, while we wait, let me help you with just a bit of a touch-up. You still look rather plain and peasantish. Let me transform you into the true princess you really are.
Oh, thank you, Your Majesty.
Oh! Now, let's a touch of this. Yeah, there you go. And a bit of that. Good. Oh, not that you need very much help. You're so naturally beautiful as you are. Now, let me help with your hair just a bit. There.
Can I look in a mirror?
No time, I'm afraid. He's here.
Father!
That is not my daughter.
Is she not? You know, now that I see her in the light, I think you're right.
But Father!
Away with this impostor. Oh, you should be grateful that I do not have you killed for toying thus with my heart. Oh, first my sons abandoned me, and now this. Oh.
Well, you heard the man. Away with her. And if she ever tries to come back, shoot her. With arrows that have been set on fire, preferably.
Poor Eliza. Not only had she been banished from her father's kingdom for a second time, but she realized her brothers were missing as well. She sat down by a riverbank because it seemed like a perfectly good place to have a nice long cry when she finally saw her reflection in the river's waters for the first time.
No wonder my father didn't recognize me. Oh, that evil woman! I should march down to the castle and get shot by a flaming arrow. No doubt she'll be watching for me now. I know what I'll do. Now that I know that my brothers are alive, I will search the entire world until I find them.
By the time she had washed in the riverbank, it was dark, and so she slept by the water, with only the gentle glowworms to keep her company, as she dreamed of the day she was a child, playing with her brothers in the royal courtyard.
Do you know the difference between glowworms and fireflies? First of all, they're not worms or flies, they're both beetles. In Europe, they're actually a different species. But in America, the term glowworm describes the larval stage of any type of firefly or lightning bug, which is the same thing. Sorry, I just ruined the mood with that one, didn't I? Anywho, Eliza woke up the next morning and started on her quest for her brothers, not having any idea where to look, but figuring that every place she went where they weren't was another place she could check off the list, and so she would just keep going to places where they weren't until she eventually stumbled upon the place where they were. I mean, how big could the whole world be, right?
Well, hello. What are you doing all alone out here?
I'm looking for someone.
What are you doing here?
I'm picking berries. You want some?
Thank you.
You haven't seen my brothers, have you? There are 11 of them, all my age or older.
No, sorry. Can't say I've seen that. Though yesterday, I did see 11 swans with gold crowns on their heads.
11 swans? With crowns? Well, that's very strange, but I'm afraid that doesn't help me very much.
Still, I suppose you could take it as a sign of good things to come for you, if you choose to believe in such things.
A long time ago, my father taught my brothers and I that God looks after the lonely and the lost. I've always believed that to be true. Only I never imagined that the lonely and lost would be me.
You know, it'd take a miracle for you to find your family again. But as long as you believe in miracles, then you may as well keep pressing on. You'd hate to be one of those people who quits right before she gets to her miracle.
I can't quite tell if you're encouraging me or picking on me.
Come on, walk on down to the water's edge with me. I'll show you where I saw those beautiful swans the other day.
The way is dark, the world is cold. You feel alone, and yet a spark of hope remains. With every step, the shadows grow, but you press on for reasons that you can't explain. And with the dawning of the day, you hear a voice behind you say, look to the hills, your help is coming. Don't be afraid, you never were alone. Look to the skies, someone is watching. You've lost your way, but he will guide you home. I know your fears, I see your pain, but I can't tell you why things turn out as they do. But this I know, each scar contains a kind of magic that can strengthen and renew. You have the choice to run away or turn toward the sun and say, look to even if no one else my help is coming. I'm not afraid, I never was alone. Look to even if something someone is watching you, I lift up your way, but he will guide me home.
By the end of her visit with the old woman, Eliza's heart felt a little bit lighter and her stomach felt a little bit fuller, but her brain was still struggling to figure out what she should do next. So she just decided to sit by the sea and watch the sunset before trying to get a good night's rest.
The waves roll on and on without growing tired. So shall I remain unwavering in my pursuit of my brothers. thank you for this lesson, fast-growing ocean. I know in my heart that you will... I wonder what she meant by crowns on their heads. Do they even make crowns small enough to fit? There you are. Crowns. You're very lovely. I don't have any bread for you, so sorry. I didn't see you back there. All right. Okay. Shoo. All of you. I don't have anything for you, so please just...
But just then, the sun disappeared below the edge of the water. And suddenly, all of the swans had transformed to reveal her brothers. Eliza went about hugging each of her brothers one by one.
I only count 6.
Well, the other 5 are over there. Oh, look, there we are. Anyways, they laughed together. And they cried together. Until they were finally able to rein in their emotions. And they began to have a chat.
It's so good to see you all. It's been so many years. What happened after I went to live in the country?
Well, we're all swans during the day now, so that's a thing.
I had noticed, but how?
Stepmom isn't a very nice lady.
I'd noticed that too. Just the other day, I went to the castle to look for all of you, and she turned our own father against me, and now I am banished.
As are we all. But we are together again at last. Who cares what perils may befall us now?
It's a good thing you came to the ocean when you did, Eliza, or else we might have missed you.
Yes, but one day more, and it would have been too late.
Too late?
As a condition of the curse which enchants us, we may not live in our home country. We must abide in a land far across the sea. It's a flight of 2 days to get there. Fortunately, we have found a small rock in the middle of the ocean exactly halfway between here and there. Each year, we may return but for 11 days to visit our old home. Tomorrow is our last day.
It's a complicated curse.
I see. How do we break it? Well, one way or another, I'll find a way to free you all.
After, we must leave and return to our home across the sea for another whole year.
But we couldn't just leave you.
Sister, have you the courage to go with us? For I am certain there is strength enough in my arm to carry you through the woods.
Or I could walk.
And will not all our wings be strong enough to bear you across the sea?
Wait. Will all our wings really be enough?
We could make a nut or something to carry her.
It's not a question of how we carry her. It's a question of weight ratios. We're 11 swans, yeah? Couple of pounds each. I'm the slimmest, easily 7 or 8, right? Okay, she is an adult human, okay? Over 100, at least 100.
Careful.
Probably.
Well, we could try it.
Well, the dress is at least 20 pounds, you know, you have to take that off.
I say all our wings will be strong enough. Huh? Will you go with us?
Of course.
And so they spend the rest of the night into the next day, gathering branches and weaving them together, until at last they had created a large, strong net. And when morning came, Eliza lay on the net, and her brothers lifted it and her high into the sky. And thus Eliza left the country of her father and her horrid stepmother once and for all. As they traveled, the air was getting pretty cold, and the colors in the sky were hinting at nightfall.
It's getting dark. Are we nearly to the rock? Oh, right.
She began to wonder if her added weight had slowed her brothers down more than they had expected. She started to worry that they might not make it to the rock at all. She said a quick prayer for safety, but night was falling fast. All of a sudden, they started going down. Not gently, but quickly. almost as if they'd been shot out of the sky.
This is it! I'm so sorry! I've doomed you all and myself as well!
Closed her eyes and braced for impact, and suddenly, they crashed into the ocean and were eaten by sharks. The end! Psych! That didn't happen. Of course, they made it to the rock right as the brothers transformed, and pretty soon, Eliza found herself in the middle of the most intense group hug of her life.
Yep, I told you we'd make it.
So we just stay this way?
Until morning, when we become swans once more and take off for the final leg of our journey.
Lovely.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya.
I'm so happy I found you guys.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. Oh Lord, kumbaya.
And so Eliza and her brothers continued on their journey. As they traveled forward without incident, we'll fast forward to the point where they finally arrived at the cave across the sea, which the brothers now called home.
This is where you live?
Yes. Well, we probably should have built a house by now, but this cave really suits our needs. And we take turns keeping watch.
Well, once I found a way to break the curse, we'll all build a new home together.
It's a deal! Now get some rest, little sister.
As Eliza drifted off to sleep, she prayed desperately to find a way to free her brothers. And as she slept, her prayer was answered.
Brave girl. What are you doing here? Is this a dream? You seek a way to end your brother's curse. You will endure physical pain, crippling loneliness, and emotional anguish as you've never suffered before. Yet, if you endure to the end, you can save them. What must I do? See this stinging nettle? It is extremely rare. It grows in abundance around this cave. Otherwise, it grows mostly among graves in the churchyards. It will burn your hand at the slightest touch. Yet, you must gather it and crush it with your hands until it becomes flax from which you must weave 11 coats with long sleeves. If these are thrown over the 11 swans, then the curse will be broken. I haven't told you the worst of it yet. If you choose this task, from the moment you do, you may not open your mouth to say a word to anyone for any reason. For the moment you do will be like a dagger through each of your brothers' hearts, and they shall fall dead. From the moment you touch this stinging nettle, their very lives are dependent upon your silence.
And so Eliza began her solitary, torturous task, gathering all the nettles she could find in the cave and in the nearby area, and crushing them with her fingers, while her youngest brother kept her company. By the time the other brothers had returned, she had almost completed her first jacket.
Eliza, what have you been doing today?
She's been gathering and crushing stinging nettles all day. I tried to stop her, but she's determined.
Ooh.
She's also not talking.
More dark magic. It has to be.
You're not cursed. So what you're doing, it's your choice. And this jacket. It's for all of us. But we can't wear them now.
Can we make them for you?
And you can't talk at all. Whatever she's doing is very important. But she has to do it alone. But that doesn't mean we can't help. Everyone take a look at this nettle.
That's intense.
Look, but don't touch. In the morning when we are swans once more, we will fly in every direction and gather as many of these as we can safely carry. We may not be able to do your work for you, sister, but we will not leave you to do it alone.
That was everybody's plan, and that night Eliza kept working until she couldn't stay awake. The next day, all of her brothers left to look for more stinging nettles, and Eliza was alone and had just about finished the second coat, and that was when she heard the hunters just around the corner.
It's so nice to get out and have some man time, right, Your Majesty?
Did I ever tell you about the time I almost shot a talking bear and ended up marrying it instead?
Quiet! Look at all these tracks and feathers. There's definitely something inside that cave. I'm going to look around. I'm sure that's why, Your Majesty. Don't worry so much. At the first sign of trouble, I'll start screaming bloody murder and you can all rush in and save me.
Come on out. Whatever you are. I'm not going to hurt you. Unless you're good to eat or a danger to my citizens or something that would make a nice trophy. Oh. You are not a bear.
I mean, I won't hurt you.
Hello. Can you speak? I'm the king of this land. I mean you no harm. How long have you been living like this? Come, and I will take you back to my palace. If you were nearly as kind as you are beautiful, I will dress you in fine silks and velvet, and place a crown upon your head and make you my queen. Sorry, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. But you must come live in the palace. And maybe we can get dinner sometime. Go for a walk. Get to know one another. It's all right. My servants will take care of you. You'll never have to sleep another night in the cave in your life.
The ladies in the king's palace took care of Eliza, giving her new clothes, a warm bath, a fantastic supper, and the most comfortable bed in the world. And of course, she just wanted to get out of there and back to her excruciatingly painful home in Iraq, but she couldn't explain that to everybody, so she just had to deal with being pampered.
After supper, the young king walked with Eliza all through the palace, and she found him to be a very charming young man. In any other circumstances, she would have been happy to be with him, but fearing all hope of her brothers was now lost, and knowing that the next word she spoke would in fact kill them, it sort of ruined the mood.
I imagine this has been a long and difficult day for you, so I'll leave you to your room. I do hope you'll be happy here one day. Hopefully soon. I had my servants take care of something for you. This seemed important to you back in your cave, so I thought you might want it. Though it's awful stuff, really. I can't imagine why anyone would want any part of it. All right, then. Good night, then. I'll see you tomorrow, I hope.
Woo! Okay, so let me tell you about this guy. I know that a lot of the princes and kings in these stories are all like, oh, you're beautiful and poor, and I'm rich, so you should marry me, and that's pretty much it. But this guy tried. I mean, he spent time with Eliza every day, and he tried to figure out what sorts of things she liked, which was pretty tough given the circumstances. But when he figured out she loved old hymns, he had musicians play them for her. And when they would go for walks, he would pay attention to the sorts of flowers and things that she liked and have the gardeners plant them in the garden outside the courtyard. And this guy was good. Though it's sort of a sad state of affairs when finding a guy who actually pays attention to the woman he loves and makes an effort to make her feel special is considered remarkable. But man, that's a whole other web series.
At any rate, eventually Eliza did fall in love with the king, and soon a marriage was arranged. In fact, the entire kingdom fell in love with Eliza. Well, the vast majority of the king's subjects loved her. There was one man who was determined to be Eliza's enemy. The king's archbishop.
He really didn't like Eliza. Hard to tell why, actually. He just hated her. I guess some people are just grumpy.
Oh, well, perhaps the time that he spent with Eliza was cutting into his weekly bowling nights with the archbishop.
Do you really think that could be it? I mean, I guess it's a possibility since this story was written in 1838 and some records trace the origins of bowling all the way back to the ancient Egyptians.
No. I was kidding.
Oh. It's hard to tell with you sometimes.
At any rate, the archbishop was frequently at the king's side, whispering wicked words into his ear about the king's bride-to-be.
You're making a terrible mistake with the girl, Your Majesty. She's clearly a witch who has cast a spell on your noble heart. Don't you find it odd, Highness, that she never speaks?
First, why are you whispering? Second, back up a bit. You're way closer than you need to be. And third, is not talking legitimately a characteristic of witches? Because I've never heard that before. I think you might be making that up. Also, I'm going to have to cancel bowling next week. I want to have Eliza crowned before the people that night as an engagement present, and
Your Majesty,
I'm going to need you there with the crown and, you know, everything. Thanks. You're the best.
I am not fooled. I'm always watching. Don't ever think what you do will go unseen. You've tricked them all, but I'll expose you. I'll watch you fall, for you will never be my queen.
As the wedding drew nearer, Eliza began to run low on supplies for her brother's coats. Her hands were now completely raw from the labor, and she desperately missed her brothers, who she hadn't seen for weeks since she'd left the cave. And everywhere she went, she felt the horrid archbishop's eyes upon her back. While thoughts of the wedding kept her spirits from completely collapsing, Eliza was near the end of her rope.
This morning my beloved held my hand, and then we walked through the gardens that he built for me, our fingers intertwined. When we sat, I laid my head upon his shoulder as he talked. My heart danced within to dream about his future joined with mine. Yet still a cloud hangs over me, the burden that I bear, a secret I don't want to keep, a weight I cannot share. That every single time I take his hand, it burns me just a little. Everything my fingers touch brings another wave of pain. But you do what you must do when the weight of the world is all on you, and you pray that all you got will be enough to pull you through. I'm so tired of stinging nettles, I'm so tired of silent tears, and each night I pray the darkness and the pain will not prevail. I'm so tired of being lonely, I'm so tired of the fear that my best may not be good enough of the cost if I should fail. Yet every night I start again, the twine upon my knee. I'll keep waiting till I drop or till I set my brothers free. Still every single time a new day dawns, it burns me just a little every day. Another test of joy, loneliness, and pain. But you do what you must do when the weight of the world is all on you, and you pray that I'll do what I must do to carry the weight of the world for you. When I feel my strength is gone, I'll pretend that you're there helping me to press on. And the pain in my hands and the ache in my heart, they will not hold me back, they can tear me apart. They're not strong enough to get me to give up on you. Tomorrow when my true love comes and takes me by the hand, I will let the sting remind me of the work that's left to do. And though it doesn't make it easier, at least I understand. One breath, one stitch, one day at a time is all that I can do. A burden that I gladly bear, for all the tears I've shed are nothing in comparison to the joy that lies ahead. It's just what you have to do when the weight of the world is all on you.
Eventually, Eliza ran out of nettles, and she still had 3 jackets yet to finish. That meant she had to go out to the graveyard in the middle of the night. So she snuck out her window and crept silently to the creepiest place in the country. And I mean, it was creepy. There were even zombies and ghosts who were eating. Look, I don't know, this story is really bizarre. But she snuck past them and gathered as many of the stingy little nettles as she could carry back home without a sound and almost without being seen.
Gotcha. If that doesn't prove she's a witch, I don't know what will.
So let me get this straight. You were hiding out beneath the window of my betrothed.
Yes, because I knew she was up to something evil, something wicked like this. Cavorting about in a churchyard with zombies, Your Majesty. She is a witch, and she has bewitched you and the entire kingdom.
Well, that's unusual.
That's what I've been saying.
No, not that. The statues of the saints. They're shaking their heads no. It's almost as if they disagree with your assessment of my bride.
That's not it at all. They agree with me.
I think you're confused, Archbishop. This means no. This is the one that means yes.
They wag their heads in shame at her wickedness, Majesty. How could it be anything else? Come with me. See for yourself.
Very well. And if Eliza is proven innocent, I wish to never hear another word of this, ever.
That night, Eliza returned to the gravesite, and the king and the archbishop followed.
There. Now you see it with your own eyes. You know the penalty for witchcraft, O king.
I did not want to believe it, but I can't deny what I am seeing. Have her arrested, but give to her the weaving she has occupied herself with. I'd like her to have some small comfort in her final hours.
Stop! You're under arrest, witch. We'll bring you before the people for trial, but I don't suppose you'll have anything to say in your defense? No? Well, good. That'll make things go more quickly.
The archbishop threw Eliza into a cold cell and took away all of her finery and all of the dresses that the king had given her, with nothing but her brother's new coats to keep her warm. The next morning, all of the townspeople gathered in the square, and where are you going?
I've had it. I'm gonna go beat that guy up.
Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't beat up the antagonist. You're the narrator.
Oh yeah? Watch this. And then Jackie beat the ever-loving snot out of the archbishop.
Ah, peace, child. Remember, it's always darkest right before the dawn.
Not always. It depends on certain atmospheric conditions and airglow. Do you know what airglow is?
Let's just finish the story,
Fine. All right. So the next morning, everyone was gathered at the town square. They had the sticks stacked for the bonfire. Eliza was basically dead from staying up all night weaving, and she was still weaving as they brought her up to the square along with all her jackets to burn along with her.
Ladies and gentlemen, Here she is, our guest of honor. Look at her now. Not a queen, not beloved, just condemned. And now, a word from our king.
My friends, it is with the heaviest of hearts today that we must... Look out!
Suddenly, 11 swans swooped out of the sky and began attacking the Archbishop. Half of them attacked, while the other half formed a protective circle around Eliza as she finished the last jackets.
Stay back! Everyone take cover! I think I read somewhere that the devil sometimes takes the form of a flock of swans or something similar.
They appear to be protecting her.
No.
Also, they're wearing crowns. That's weird.
Get them off me!
Eliza decided she didn't have any more time, and so she threw her jackets over her brothers. And when the last coat fell upon the last swan, they were immediately transformed into their true selves. Eliza stood wearily and said,
Your Majesty, my love, I am innocent.
All right, so I am completely lost. Anybody else?
Your Majesty, I think I may be able to explain, while our sister gets some much-needed rest.
Excellent. I am very much looking forward to the part of this where things start making sense again.
And so, the brothers began to explain the whole story to the young king. And he ordered all of the servants to bring Eliza a dress and a crown and all of her servants in from the castle.
Also, then Jackie punched the Archbishop.
And the king ordered everyone to leave so that his love could get some much-needed rest. And finally she woke, several hours later.
Eliza, my dearest, I'm so terribly sorry. I hope you can forgive me.
You were deceived. You did what you thought was best, and if I had spoken up, it would have killed my brothers.
Whoa. Now there's a detail we didn't know anything about.
Magnus! Your arm!
Yeah, don't worry about it. It could have been a lot worse.
Eliza, it is so good to hear your voice. If you were still willing, I would be honored if you would be my queen.
Well, we already planned the whole thing. We might as well go through with it.
And so Eliza's servants dressed her in a royal gown, and together with the king, escorted by 11 stately princes from across the sea, she returned to her new home in such a wedding procession as never the world had seen, nor has seen since. And never was there more well-deserved a happily ever after in all the land.
You have the choice to run away or turn toward the sun and say, look, even if no one else can hear you, even if no one understands, even if standing someone is watching you, lift up your way, but he will guide me home.
But producer James said to make the show more educational, so...
Well, he's always up to something, isn't he?
Where is he anyway? Did he go home early?
Hello, you're new. Dear girls, I'm so sorry that I haven't been completely honest with you from the start. Jacqueline, this is from James.
You've heard me talk about our backers. The backers want this, the backers want that. I've been lying. There are no backers. Everything we've had has come from whatever money I could scrounge up, and I'm afraid the bill is due and there's nothing left to pay with. I really hoped the show would take off better than it has, but it didn't. I wish I'd been upfront with you, but I was afraid you'd leave if you knew the truth.
I'll be by tomorrow morning to clear out our things. The studio's kicking us out. We have to be completely clear by noon. I'm sorry we won't get to finish this season. I know this show was important to the both of you. It meant a lot to me, too. But it looks like there's no happy ending this time. You two are the absolute best, and you deserved better. Thanks for everything, James.
Well, that's a downer. So now what?
I don't know. But it looks like we have about 12 hours to figure it out.